Well, joining me today is Isaac Libbey. He's the owner of Best Buy Metals. They don't have one location, they got 3 or 4. So how many locations do you have now?
We actually have 8 locations at the moment, sir.
8 locations.
Yes, sir.
Is that mind-boggling?
I never really thought we'd go quite that with it. We just one step at a time, start out real small and just thankfully just grew. Yes, sir.
What's the idea of when you got 7, you say, hey, let's get 8? I mean, what brought the 8th one along?
I don't know. I'm really not sure if I'm smart or stupid, but we just keep adding on. But I tell you, we end up usually just looking for areas that seem to have that need, and usually we're already delivering the products to that area for a period of time, and then we're like, well, you know what? We really just need to make it more convenient for our customers, for the contractors, to be able to get there closer without having to come to this other location. So usually we build off the other one.
Is it mostly metals?
It really is. It's a good variety of different metal. You've got from commercial to residential to, we have board and batten for the walls. We don't do any vinyl siding anymore, but we do have the board and batten and lap siding. It's all made out of metal, but it is all metal. Yes, sir.
I think I remember back in the day, we used to buy some vinyl siding from y'all. Was that a thing?
It is, yeah. We did that for a good period of time. I tell you the truth, it worked out good at the time, but as we ended up needing more space, we did more manufacturing, and it just a better niche for us to stick with the metal. And so that's when we just let that go on out and move directly only towards metal.
I used to use this crew all the time. They bought the vinyl siding from you. Their last names were Zimmerman or Zimmerman, whatever. Trying to think of his name. They were a really good crew. I think
sounds familiar. We've had several good contractors.
I think one of them died and the other one went to jail.
Oh boy.
But they were really good crew.
Yeah.
Zimmerman, I think, was his name.
Oh, okay. I can't replace right off the bat. I know we did move a lot of vinyl at one time.
I'd say that vinyl siding is one of those things that's, at the time it was good, but now it's probably sold everywhere.
That is true, yeah. And I'll tell you, we look for something that's going to be durable, never touch again, not having to do with, the metal cracking it. And so many people's going to that board and batten, and that's really what caused us to get the equipment to roll the board and batten. It's all metal, but it's got the wood grain pattern, and you can still lap siding, but it's all metal now, and we could do it however long you need it. So we just kind of went that direction. Yes, sir.
So, when you think of metal, you think of the barn with a galvanized roof that's got the nails, the screw holes rotted out around it, and everybody loves to look at it, but they don't really want that on their house because of but the old galvanized roofing, or tin roofing, right? What was it first, tin?
A lot of them did call it tin. The old 5V panel, the 2 foot wide, That's what you see the most of as far as from years back.
And so that went out. Wonder when they started making that.
There's some of that. I couldn't tell you the exact, but some of it's from, way back. I think it's from the original you see on barns and houses but you're right. There's a lot of change since then, for sure.
What would that have been, like 18-something, I guess?
I would think so.
Wonder who the first person that said, hey, let's make this metal and put it on the roof?
You know what? You got me wondering now. I'm going to research when I get home.
Because you see a lot of that on Gunsmoke even.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was 1860s, so it had to have been.
Oh, yeah.
And then I guess along came galvanized.
Yes, sir.
Which is really good.
Yes, sir. And they get galvanized, and they get the Galvalume, where it's got the aluminum mixed in the zinc, so you don't have to worry about the rusting and all that. So
that came along
afterwards, yeah.
Later.
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of Galvalume out there.
A lot of Galvalume. And now they've gone so far with the paint systems, too. Even when we first opened 21 years ago, the paint systems was a 25-year warranty, And now the paint system's even gone a long ways now, so where you got a 40-year warranty, and it's not just the warranty, it's actually the actual what they put in it for so it to last and not to worry about the fading and all that. So they keep improving, going a long ways with it.
What's that cryonite? What do they call it? Cryonite? Cryonized metal roofing?
Yeah, Kynar,
yeah.
Kynar. Yeah.
That's the paint that baked on and it ain't coming off.
That's right. Yeah, it's a really good system. You see a lot with standing seam going with Kynar, and it's some of the newer stuff that's out there for sure.
One thing I found interesting, standing seam is not just, it can mean a lot of things, standing seam.
Yeah, it really can. Yeah, so there is so many varieties of standing seam. We have, and we've rolled form several ourselves. Some's commercial, some's residential, but you got the 1 inch, what we call a Titan Lock 100, 1 inch tall. It's got the built-on flange. It's primarily used for residential. It's a really good panel. But then you can go on up to 1.5 inches, you know, that has the Titan Lock 150, and it's got the clip as well. And then you got other ones that instead of the built-on strip for the nail flange, they have clip system to allow it to move and contract more on larger buildings, or if they have to do longer panels. And then they go right on up to 3 inch tall. That's when some of the warehouses are practically flat roofs, and so they need a taller rib to let that water come on off there faster without it getting up over the rib. So, in all these panels, we got them in 19, 20 different colors. And you got different options: 26 gauge or 24 gauge. 29 gauge is primarily on the tough rib panel, not so much the standing seam, but
the higher the rating, is that the thicker?
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
so
sir.
The 29 would be, who would use that?
Well, let me back up and say that the 24 is a thicker. So
Okay.
So I answered it wrong.
Yeah.
So 24 is thicker. So the 29 will use that a lot in the tough rib, the 3 foot wide panel, which you see on.
That's like you buy at Lowe's and you're going to put an accent behind the counter or something. It's kind of a accent thing, but it's not really that.
The 29 will work on residential on the 3 foot, and you see a lot of that. But now the reason you can't do it on the standing seam is because of the oil cannon. You want to go thicker for sure on standing seam. You got a lot tighter pattern, and you don't have a rib every 9 inches. That 3 foot wide is a rib every 9 inches, so you ain't got to worry about oil cannon. So 29 is still sufficient for that. But in the standing seam, most of the time, quite often, it's a 16-inch wide panel, and it don't have a rib in the middle. So if it's not thicker, you'll see ripples, especially when the light hits it. It don't hurt the integrity of the panel. But as far as looks goes, you want to go on up thicker, 26 or 24, where you'll see that.
What about hail damage? Would that hurt a 29 gauge?
I've seen very little. And, I remember back when we had some in Oodawall, got a lot of really large hail, and they had a few dings on some of the roofs there, but it takes a massive size to really put a dent in that.
And for a few minutes too.
That's
I'm
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it'd be harder to do that than it would a car.
For sure.
A car would get it easier.
That's great. Partly because most of the time they're on a solid surface, and so there's nothing. The car's empty underneath, and you can see those dings all through it. But most of the time you don't see anything. Especially versus a regular shingle, it could rip off little pieces. But a metal, I've never seen it go through it. But I have seen it. Some huge stuff, put little dings in it before.
I was walking with one of these old time builders. I used to talk to them a lot. And we walked by a house, and he said, "Well, this house doesn't have felt on it." I said, "Well, how do you know?" He said, "Well, you can look at the splash box and see all the granules on the splash box." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Well, that felt's not to keep the roof from leaking. It's to give the roof some absorption. And when the granules come off, it's because there's no shock absorber of the felt." And every time I walk by a splash box now, I look.
It causes you to look.
It just causes me to look.
Yeah, they definitely recommend a barrier. We do a lot of synthetic underlayment, that goes out the door for that. But or the felt paper's fine, 30 weight felt paper. But what they referring to the gravel, what we found is on a shingle roof, if they leave one, if there's just one layer, they could leave it on there as long as there's not soft places or rotten. But they still recommend to put that barrier between the two, put it on top of the shingles, trim all the way around so you don't see any shingles, put that barrier, either 30 weight felt paper or underlayment. And mainly because the expansion and contraction, because that metal does move a little bit. And if it's got that gravel on the backside, it's just working on it.
Yeah.
And so really in order to keep the warranty on the metal, they do that barrier of some sort is recommended.
Well, they call that non-granular underlayment. I think they call it non-granular or something like that. You know, you can hear a roof move it a little bit. You can hear some of that crackling if it's real hot.
Yeah, especially on these metal buildings when you're inside. Yeah, it's true.
I got a walnut tree out here in the back, and I can't. That's why I got my car parked out where I don't normally park it, because it'll look like hail damage.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's some big trees you got there.
Do you? Yeah. Now, where are you from originally?
You know, I've lived most of my life here in Athens, Tennessee.
Athens.
Yeah, most of my life I was from there.
When did you move to Athens?
When I was probably about 5 years old.
You know Tyler Forrest, the new Tennessee Wesleyan president?
I know the name. I don't really know him.
I had him on last week. He's really, really smart.
Oh,
what part of Athens did you grow up in?
It's out in the country, going towards Etowah, and you take a right towards or not too far from Bower Road and up in that area. Yeah, Pine Grove Road.
Claxton?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. Yeah, right
You
there.
didn't think I knew where Claxton
You got it. Yeah, right in there.
Sam Cannon was from there. He's an old.
Yeah.
Did you ever know him?
Yeah.
You been here that long?
I've heard the name, but I don't know him personally.
I knew him well. He was from Claxton, Tennessee. I think they've still got to build a fire hall, don't they?
They do. Sure do.
What else they got there?
There's not a whole lot there, though. It's still country for the most part.
Wonder what that was originally from, because I mean, maybe it was a stagecoach stop, or
I don't know. I know there's a lot of history up and through, different areas, not too far.
If you go over the four-way and go down, you go into Linsdale, I think it is.
Yeah.
You ever been to Linsdale?
Yeah, I have. Oh, yeah.
It's actually a little bigger than Claxton.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by these small communities that were towns at one time, and why did they go out, and what's their history? Because they have to have some.
Right. Why did one area keep growing and the other one just kind of
and usually there's a Methodist church somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Yeah. Are you Methodist, or what are you?
I'm not really. We do definitely live for the Lord, and we go to a church in Walker Valley, across from Walker Valley High School. It's called Walker Valley Community Church.
Yep, I know right where's that.
Real good church, good people. Just try to live for the Lord, and really just it's a little non-denominational church. And Pastor Kenny Rodriguez is a pastor there, and just has real good people. Good service today, actually, this morning.
Good location.
It is. Yes, sir.
They built that in 2008, I think.
That's correct. Yeah, sure.
Right during when things went, the recession they call it. Did you feel the recession of 2008?
I remember a lot about it. Thankfully, we were really busy still. I just have to give the credit to God. We stayed really busy during that time.
Was it big orders, or was it more along the line of smaller orders, or? It was
a variety. I can't say that we were just slammed as far as like we are at times, but it was still a constant, and it's probably more people redoing their homes than it was new. It wasn't so much new houses. It was more, because when I think part of it is because when they need a roof, they're going to put a priority on it.
Yeah.
Because
and insurance, they got to do it.
That's right. Things will happen, and they'll need insurance. When it's time, if they don't do it, then it's going to start affecting other things in their house, from sheetrock on down. So, I mean, that's part of it, I would say. But we did know there was a lot of slow going on at that time. But we felt very thankful, blessed to keep moving on during that time.
So where did you go to high school? Did you go to high school in Etowah or McMinn?
I was homeschooled, actually. I homeschooled all my life. We knew a lot of homeschool group, and my parents decided to teach us at home. We did curriculum through there, and I did a little bit at Cleveland State afterwards, but we was homeschooled.
Where were they from originally? Where did they move to get to Athens?
They both started out in Florida. They were both in Florida, and then they moved around some from different areas to West Virginia. Sometimes they moved for work, and so we had a lot of good friends in West Virginia, and then from there on to here.
Why the roofing business? Or would you say you're in the roofing business or the metal business?
I'd say metal, but you got both of them really though, because roofing is the largest presented part of it, and but it is all metal, not shingles, not asphalt shingles at all. Now we do have metal shingles, but to answer your question, I was 24 at the time, and just prior to that, I was actually growing. After I got out of high school, I was working with a builder, building some homes, just learning, and then I started actually building them on my own for a while. We did some electrical work.
Athens?
A lot of it was Athens, but some of it was up towards Baltimore City.
Oh, yeah.
We did some spec homes up there and a few houses, and did a lot of. Sometimes we did the whole house. Sometimes we just did part. And this was when I was still in my younger 20s, and sometimes we did electrical. We did quite a bit of wiring homes, but we had friends in Horseshoe Beach, Florida, that real good church people. We went and visited them regularly, and my mom and dad, even growing up, we went there. But they had a place where they manufactured metal roofing, and that's really what caused us to think about it, because I really liked their operation. I got a chance to see it some. It just was fascinating just to watch how it worked. And when we were building, we were having to go from job to job to job. And we were thankful. I enjoyed it, actually, still enjoy it, doing some of it. But I just decided I wanted to work in something that was, instead of going to different areas to where we could try to stay established, work with the community, work with contractors. And so in 2002, and I was 24, we started out just real small, but it's right where we're at now. Mr. Hall owned that building that we're in. It used to be a Lowe's years ago, but we rented the very left side, which was just the warehouse of Lowe's. We rented a little section right there.
Was that the first location?
It is the first one. Yes, sir. And what we did, that was just an open warehouse, and we rented a 3,000 square foot, and we built a little office in front of it, 24 by 14. And just a couple of us. And we opened up. At that time, we didn't manufacture. We were buying it from another company, and they was giving us wholesale pricing so we could build up. And we was still, because when you first open a place, and you know this because you're the businessman that you are, when you first open a place, there's no real income because you're just getting started. So we were still doing work on the side. We'd work during the day there at the office, and we was building up some good contractors. At nighttime, we'd shut it down and we'd go work, we'd wire a few houses, frame some houses, go back in the morning. So at first, it was all in. It was, but we were thankful it continued to grow until we was able to get the roll formers and start manufacturing.
Where do you buy the metal at? Do you buy them from a roll metal manufacturer? Is that?
Yes, sir. It's straight from it's U.S. Steel, and United Metals is where we get a lot of it, but different coils come in. So we got to tour their plant. So actually, is where they make the coils, hot roll. Those rolls right here in the U.S. And so we buy the coils. They're like 10,000 pound coils, and so each coil is got a baked on finished paint.
That's 5 Bobcats.
That's about right. Yeah, that'll be yeah. And one coil will do probably 5 or 6 houses. Just depends on what size the home is, of course. And they're already pre-painted, baked on finished paint. So in our warehouse, we have coils of all colors ready to go. It's just like big rolls of flat steel.
What does a coil cost generally?
About $15,000 each.
Golly.
Yeah.
So how many houses? 5?
Just really depends on the house,
So you could have $3,000 in just the raw metal before it's even put on a spool.
Yeah, and we get them in semi-loads. You have about 5 coils on a semi-load, and they...
$100,000 or $60,000.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And they coming in daily, you know,
Have
just
to pay
back
them
to back.
COD or?
No, we've got accounts with them. We're thankful. We got accounts with them. They'll let us. We keep them paid up, but they'll let us have some good terms.
Boy, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
outlay of
You
cash.
walk in our warehouse right now, you'll find, you know, the place full of coils because you have to be ready because we're thankfully moving a lot of it. So you'll have the wire. You should you should come by and tour the back sometime and
Yeah.
see all the coils of all the colors ready to go. So we don't want a contractor having to wait. So if they place the order today, tomorrow it don't matter what size the house is on that, you know, especially the 3 foot that we sell the most of. They place it, it don't matter if it's 25-foot panels, it don't matter if it's 50-foot panels, 2 inches, whatever it is, and they want it in, say, in charcoal, tomorrow we could have it ready for them. We put that coil on the machine, it computerized, it'll roll it and cut it to the exact inch that they asked for and be ready to go. And we could take it to them. And so the service is what we really try. But
So this machine that you roll them on, is that your own kind of your custom, that you custom shape it to the samples you have up on the board there? Is that, you got these samples and you say, okay, these are the ones these are the shapes we can roll out?
it's very similar. Now, there is several different pieces of equipment in there. So one will do one thing, one will do another machine will do like the standing seam. But now some of the equipment you can change the dies out to diversify and change it. Like say if they want it to be a wider standing seam or narrower, or if they want it to have the striations or the minor ribs, or you can take that same machine and do a soffit panel. So you can change some of them out. But now there's some that are specifically for that. Like you see the commercial panels with the PBR panel and R panel, that's one set of rollers. That's all. It's too big of that's like 70-foot long piece of equipment. You can't, so you don't really change the dies on that one. But then, but some of them you do.
So this machine that bends these, I bet that's expensive.
It really is. They
Golly.
could add right up. Yes, sir. And you have to have a variety. I mean, you have the ones for the roll forming, and then we have the computerized brakes for bending in the custom trim. So, and you have to have quite a few in order to do the job.
That reminds me, I had this guy that was going into the, going to sell vinyl linoleum flooring. Remember that back in the day?
Yeah.
So I was sitting there he had a picnic bench in his office or in the showroom. So I was sitting there, and he was a really good salesman. He was just real calm, and Roger Goins. I don't know if you ever knew Roger.
Roger Goins.
He worked at Munford's for years.
Okay.
So this guy comes in, he says, I need a piece this long, and Roger says, well, all I've got's these 2 colors, and this is the only one long enough to do the job you want. And with Roger's luck, the guy said, I was leaning that direction.
Just happened to be what he needed.
He had 2.
Well,
I wonder if you just sewed one shape, you couldn't make it, could you?
it'd be hard to now because I think part of the thing is everyone's home is different. So you could definitely find something that will work on each style home, whether it's brick, whether it's a log cabin, there's certain products just look nicer, and then some of it comes down to opinion too. So one individual may just really like something. Like we have metal slate. Look, it's metal, but looks just like slate. Well, some people just exactly what they want. They see it and they say, I want that. And then there's some, we've got a metal slate. We also got a metal shingle that looks just like asphalt. It's stone coated. Well, there's certain subdivisions they're not allowed to have metal. It's just something. It's more a lot of that's going away now. A lot of people are accepting it because it's become more and more popular, and so many go in that direction. But they'll still allow that stone coated metal. So I think the main thing is just having something for each home and each individual, what their preference is. Just like the colors. For years everybody did green and red. You see green and red,
forest green, hunter green.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I think people got tired of it. So now you'll find that. Charcoal and black. Black is a big one right now. A lot of people going black metal. Just all for the last year and a half, we've sold more black than we have any other color. So it goes in and out in different fades, and so you just have to have what each, try to make sure it's what they want for that home.
So since 2002, is that when you started?
That's right, yes, sir. April 2002.
So that's been, what, 22 years? Boy, it don't seem like it does. 20 years?
21
years?
going on, 21 going on 22.
So in 21 years, you've went from 3,000 square feet in the front corner
That's right.
to 8 locations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and really, it's really pretty crazy, really, just the growth that we've had, and we've got a really good team, and I'm just thankful. I think we try to hire people that are smarter than I am and more qualified, and then really just have to give God all the credit, because we just gradually just keep growing. I think we never really planned on doing that. It's just, we wanted to keep growing, but we didn't know to what extent, and so from there we went to Chattanooga. Of course, we was delivering in Chattanooga every day, practically. We're like, well, now we need a place in Chattanooga, so we opened Chattanooga, and then.
Do you form the stuff in Chattanooga, or do you form it here and take it there? How's that work?
Well, Chattanooga, we take it there every day. If they order it today, they'll have it tomorrow. We'll have a full either semi-load or gooseneck goes to Chattanooga the next day, and they have all accessories in stock, so that all they need is the panels. But now, the other locations, most all the locations do roll form. Out of the 8, there's we have 3 in the Carolinas. Each one of them have their own roll formers. Greenville, South Carolina; Asheville, North Carolina; Mooresville, North Carolina. They each have their own machines and equipment, and Knoxville has its own equipment. But Dalton, Georgia, and Chattanooga is really like satellite stores.
Because they're close enough where you can transfer.
That's right. But our goal is still to give them real good service, whoever's down that way. That's why we still have a truck every morning that one goes to Chattanooga and one goes to Dalton every single morning. And then they have delivery drivers that will take it if they need it delivered from their store to the locations.
Do you feel like do you feel like North Carolina's harder to do business than Tennessee or Georgia? Would you say any of them? Because I've done some work in Georgia, and man, it's just like pulling teeth.
Yeah,
You
hit it right for sure. Georgia's the hardest.
It's always a problem. I don't care if you're getting a drink of water, or buying a hamburger, or building a house. It's a problem. Yeah. I can't put my finger on the reason why.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either. I know they have, as far as following all their rules, even with the taxes and the codes and so forth, even sales tax, to follow all the rules is more difficult. And we heard that going in it, and it's definitely true. Our CPA firm let us know when we went to Georgia it'd be a little more difficult, but we navigated through it, and we still, that was another one. We were selling to Georgia regularly, but when you open a place in Georgia, you got to follow.
And then you got Georgia sales tax.
That's right.
Georgia, you have to fill out a Georgia income tax, I believe, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yep, you have to sell it based on each state, where they're located and where it's going. So, yep, definitely more challenging. Now, the Carolinas have their but it's not as bad. It's not the same.
I found North Carolina to be more strict on building requirements and codes.
Yeah.
But navigating their government is a lot easier, and Georgia is less on the codes, but harder to navigate their government. If that makes sense.
Yep, you're exactly right. Yeah.
And I'm not sure I think Tennessee is more city or community based. It's sort of like, Pikeville and Greeley Logger and Etowah, Polk County and Ducktown are easy to deal with, and you get into Chattanooga, and I waited on Chattanooga for a permit for like 6 months, just for a permit.
Really?
For a permit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm not, you get to the point where at my age, I don't even know if I'm going to be doing it that long.
I think they keep adding it seemed like even locally here, they're trying to bring more stuff in than what they used to,
They are.
Making it more complicated.
When I first started, I could meet you on Tuesday and be digging your footing Friday.
Yeah.
And I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And the customer can't decide in that length of time. Used to, they'd say, I want blue, I want black, I want red, and I want it like this, and that was it.
Yeah.
Now that's, sort of want it like that.
They have too many options, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they do have options.
Yeah, that is true.
And when I first started building, you either got a white tub or an almond tub, and the difference in price was $8. So it didn't matter which one they wanted. But now they want ceramic tile with terracotta, sealed and all this back buttered and all this stuff, and it's just the internet has made it so many options.
They'll probably get on there and find what they want to show you and say, I want this.
Yeah, and if you see something on that Etsy thing, you can't even buy it. I've tried to buy stuff. They don't have it in stock. I don't even know why I've never met anybody that's bought anything from it.
Yeah.
Do you think business is harder now than it was then?
I believe so. Yes, it's harder. Our goal, and I know it's your goal too, is to take care of the customer the best we can. So we try to do everything we can because that's what our business is. But it is harder. It's more difficult now. We want to navigate. We want to do it right. If we come up short, we're going to make it right. But sometimes it's still a little more difficult. Or definitely, it's more difficult these days. It seems like it's harder to make it fit what they want.
It seems like the customer may be a little less self-sufficient than they used to be, too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not built a house in 20 years. In the last 20 years, I haven't put their mailbox up for them.
Really? Wow.
And 30 years ago, the man of the house would have took that as a personal insult.
Yeah, that's something to think
He'll
about.
put his own mailbox up.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
So I go to.
That's interesting, I didn't think.
I mean, I even have to call the 911 center and put the numbers on the mailbox, and they won't have a 5, and I have to go to the the Ace Hardware in Ooltewah to see if they've got a 5 in that, and they've quit carrying that line. It's a problem with everything.
It is.
But everything anymore is a problem. And maybe it's not more of a problem. Maybe we get burnt out of the problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
It seems like there's more challenges for sure than what I remember seeing before, and just have to navigate through it, but definitely.
How far is the farthest location?
I believe Mooresville. Mooresville's the furthest. It's a good 5 hours. It's not unreachable, but it's about a 5-hour drive.
So you would have to, do you try to go there once a week or once every 2 weeks, or how do you do that?
It's usually more once every couple months, but I do have others that are going there more often. We got our managers, regional managers. We've got a lot of good leadership that'll go there often, but now we're still communicating with them all the time. So we do the FaceTime. We do our leadership meetings together with all the managers, every week, every Tuesday morning. And so we're very well connected, and we're talking to them all the time. But I don't go there as often as what you would think. I need to get there more often. Everything gets so busy, but I'd like to get there more often. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a trip right now. But we'd have others there going there.
Where did you learn all this levels of business? I couldn't do all that. I just build houses and build buildings, and I have 2 or 3 going, and I manage it. But how do you get to that level without being a family member in it? I mean, you came from that to this in that length of time, and you're not second generation.
Yeah. I really think just one step at a time, but we do have really good help, in hiring the right individuals. We have, it's not been easy. We do pray about decisions to make, and there's definitely times I get a little too stressed and have to calm down and go again. But overall, it's really because we got some good help, good people working with us. And God's been graceful, been kind to us to help that. Without that, I wouldn't keep doing it. Matter of fact, there's been times I thought, well, I need to slow down, because if I ain't careful, I'll get things out of proportion, because, we have more important. I'm thankful for work. It helps provide for our family, and take care of other things that we work with. But I don't want to do it in such a degree that I leave out the most important things, which is, whatever God has for my life, for my family. Life's too short, If I ain't careful, I'll work the whole thing. And I found this, and I mentioned this to someone the other day, and I know it's true. If I ain't careful, we all do this, and I'll do this. I'll look ahead and say, when I get here, I'll be good when I get here. And then when I get there, I realize I'm still looking ahead again. I never really get there. So I always encourage myself and everyone else to think about how short life is. And we have to work to make a living, but there still is more important things than that. And so, but to answer your question, I've been thankful to have the right people and have God to help us. We have now about 150 employees, and we have some good leaders to help along. It takes all of us to get it done. So
Takes everyone, even the person that walk in that says hello.
that's right. That's
You
right.
gotta, they may be the most important.
They're important. They're important. That's exactly right. We tell our team from the time a contractor or individual comes in to the time they pick up the order, they've got to be treated like gold, because without them, we wouldn't even be here. Even the guys back there that's loading the metal. I mean, you've seen it. And where you walk into a place, they spend all this money on product, but yet you walk in there and they just don't even talk to you, and they throw it on each other, and they almost like, get out. They don't say it, but you feel like, get out of here. You got your stuff. But so we encourage our team to make sure they feel welcome and load them, treat them with respect, because they're the last person they're going to see before they leave your place of business, and you want them to know you care. And so that's really important to us, because it don't matter. Each person's important. Whether they're running the machine, placing the order, cleaning the floors, and I'll clean the floors with the rest of them. I'm not, just whatever needs to be done, we'll get in there. And you're right. Each person's important.
I was over there here probably 4 or 5 months ago. I had to get some metal for a garage door. It was an odd shaped bend, whatever. Finally, I got it, and the guy in the warehouse that loaded me, he was probably the nicest guy I've ever met. And I don't remember what he looked like.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But he was really concerned with me getting it in my truck and it not blowing out.
Yeah.
And just
good.
really, because I mean, that's been 5 months ago, and I remember.
You remember? It stuck with you then.
It stuck with me.
That's good to hear. That's what we want you to remember.
Well, he was there. He must have been a regular.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know him if he walked in, but.
Yeah, that's good. That's encouraging, because that's our goal. We don't always
I think
do
the
it
order
perfectly.
was $15. I mean, it was so insignificant.
Yeah. It's a good point, though. That's another thing we tell. It don't matter if it's a bag of screws or an entire roof. It's important, because they need it, and they're going to remember it when they need it. They're going to know it needs someone else. And
He was more worried about it blowing off the truck than I was.
Yeah.
He wrapped it up and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah.
When you say there's more important things, I've struggled with that question for a long time. Is there? We say, yeah, God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe this is what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
I say, well, I want to retire. It's not all about working, it's about God. But maybe God's got me doing this to keep people busy and to, maybe this is my torture.
You got a good, that's definitely, I know God does have different people in the field to work.
It's a real thought. Maybe this is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wouldn't I wouldn't take anything away from that, because you're absolutely right. I do believe that there's different ones, different areas, and even in businesses and individuals that God has to work different areas, and that's what they have for them. I guess my main thing, what I always go back to, is even during our work, like even if we work entire life, that we always take time to stop and realize and give glory to God, and realize that He put the breath in our life, And so that's what I have to realize. I don't want to work and try to absorb everything. I don't want to absorb it all for myself, for one thing. If it goes in my hands, I want to be able to pass through my hands, because it's all His to start with. But just remember, I guess my goal is I have to encourage myself and others to realize that even if we have to work through our life, that we give God the glory through all of it. And if He asks us to stop and do something here for some way, or stop and do this, that I will heed that call, not miss the opportunity. Believe me, I have not done that perfectly. I've missed opportunities. And so that's what caused me to recognize, hey, maybe I'm too busy at that particular time. Now, I've been, so I think that's really what I was mainly talking about. I know for a fact there's different ones that have different callings. Some might be, a missionary their entire life. Some might be working. Then you could reach people while you're working. You could obey God while you're working. I think there's just different areas. Main thing is that we each follow what he leads us to do.
And maybe not fight it.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing. Not really fight it.
Right.
But then you say, to open up another store, is this do I close two? Do I? There's always these questions. We don't know what to do. Do I take this other job? Do I not take this other job? There's always.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm not so sure even if us thinking about it even makes a difference. Have you ever wondered that?
Yeah.
It may not even make a difference.
Probably not just thinking about it. I've messed myself up pretty good just thinking too much. But I tell you the truth, Dee, what I've found, if I'll just take the time sometimes to pray about it, that makes more difference than anything. Because I'll make choices. I've made choices on my own, and I'm like, man, I wish I'd have prayed about that. If I pray about it and I feel the Lord give me, I feel like it's a peace about going forward with it, then I will. But if I don't, then I'm much better off not. And it's the same thing when opening these locations. There's been certain areas I thought about it, and I prayed about it and just didn't feel good about it. In another area, I'd feel good about it, and He'd allow me to do that, and I could see the Lord allowing that to be used in different areas. But again, He's still working on me. I ain't got it all figured out. But I know if I'll let Him lead me in these things, it goes a whole lot smoother than the times that I failed to.
And I think sometimes if we try to put a square peg in a round hole and we just keep trying to force it just to win, that's when we're supposed to stop.
You're right.
If it's just not,
You're
if
right.
it's not coming together just real easy,
Yeah.
then the location's not working. We can't get it together. It's not working. We got all these hurdles. Hey, maybe we're just not supposed to do it.
That's right.
In other words, if it's not coming easy, don't do it.
Yeah.
If it's hard to do, maybe quit trying.
Yeah, there was time. I guess that definitely gives us time to take a look at it harder, And I found times that I could tell it wasn't meant to be. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to relook at this situation. Now we'll have adversity come against us on some things, especially if it's, in ministry, what have you, and then you have to realize whether it's God prompting us to stop or whether it's enemy trying to stop us. But there's different.
You got to wonder.
Yeah.
I always wonder. I was talking to somebody the other day. They said, "Man, I tried to get here. Sorry, I'm late." And I said, "Hey, man, it's okay. You might have had that wreck if you'd have got here."
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe it's that simple. Just I got stopped by 2 red lights. If you hadn't stopped by 1, you might have got in that car wreck and been paralyzed the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So maybe we just
God knows.
Maybe we just let it go and just sort of do our best and think about it. And if it doesn't fit, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I think that's the main thing. Do our best, but be prayerful while we do it, because I still know that if we allow Him to control our life, then He'll direct us, and it might not always be the way we want to do it. I've seen times when I felt to do something totally different. It really wasn't what I had in mind at all, but I realized that if I didn't follow what I knew that He was dealing with me, then it wouldn't turn out good at the end, But
What's so saying, if you want to make God laugh, make a plan?
well, make our own plan.
Make our own plan.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Because He's going to work it out.
Yeah.
What made you so religious?
Well, I think the main thing is as far as living for the Lord, and I don't want to ever come across like I've got it all figured out. Sure, but I really do my best to try to live for the Lord. And growing up, I'm thankful for my parents. They did raise me in church, raised me to love the Lord. But even during that time, I realized that just because they raised me in church, that didn't really make me necessarily a saved individual. It didn't really necessarily make me right and on my way to heaven, because I still had to have that in my own heart. And so I remember when I was 12 years old, and that sounds pretty young.
That's generally the age.
Yeah, yeah, because you could hear it all your life,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
don't necessarily commit to it. And I was 12 years old, and my mom and dad sat us down, myself and my older sister and brother, and we was at the kitchen table sitting around, real similar like you and I here. And they just began to talk to me. They said, you know, we know we've raised you in church, and there's reading in the Bible. And they began to read the story about how there's a broad path and a narrow path. And that broad path, Bible talks about, leads to destruction, but that narrow path leads to life. And they were just talking to us about it. And at that time, they asked a question, and the Lord was dealing with me in my heart. It was more than just mom and dad telling me this. It was something, I felt it in my heart. And they began to tell us, they said, and my other brothers and sisters too, it was hitting them. They asked me, so which path are you on? Because just because I was raised in it don't mean I was on the right path, you know. I mean, granted, as a little baby, you know that I hadn't necessarily had a choice to make that decision, but at this age, I could make that decision. So when they asked me, which path are you on? I got to think, you know what? I've been taught this, but have I really accepted God in my heart? And there was something that come in that room, and I know it was the Spirit of God, and just began to make just the three of us children began to weep, and we realized we really weren't on that path just because mom and dad told us. And that was a change in my life. That was a change that really, I knew that even at 12 years old, it's amazing what God can do. At 12 years old, he changed my life, and I've never been the same since. So
You remember it distinctly?
I remember it very well, yep. And even
Who
today.
did most of the talking, your mother or your dad?
I'd say Dad probably did, but when we was in our home, Mom would still do Bible studies with us. You know, they both did. They both would share things. But yeah, I remember that very clear. And that was the day. It was a changing point in my life that, because you asked the question, what caused, and it was really the Spirit of God through my parents that just led me there. And I wouldn't take nothing for it, because it's a change that has followed me the rest of my life, since I was that age. And from that day on, believe me, I've not done anything. I've not followed him to perfectly, but I strive to, and I strive to. When I fail, I'm thankful for the mercy of God. They'll pick me back up and allow me to keep, working for him, because that's real. Life is too short. Life is too short. I mean, I'm already 46.
That was 32 years ago.
Yes, sir. A long time ago. And it's changed me ever since. I wouldn't take nothing for it. But you know what the good thing about it is? It don't matter if I was 12 years old or if I was 46 now, or if I was 50 years old. I'm thankful that God gives us a choice that right then, don't matter where we're at in life, he's a merciful God, and he'll pick us up. I mean, we might look back and say, wow, I've lost all these years. But he picks us up, if we'll allow him to, and puts us on that straight path that leads to life. And there's a peace in it. There's such a peace in it. And I've seen God move for people even recently that they've picked up and went on with God. And we don't have to look back at the other things. We look back and move forward and say, this is what God does for us. He's a loving God. And some people think that God's up there just ready to beat us down every time we make a mistake,
I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
No, he's not. He's a loving God. He's merciful. I mean, sure, he wants us to ask him in our heart and then start and change some of the ways we do things. He don't want us to just keep going on the way we do things, but he's not up there just ready to beat us. He's ready to pick us up. I found in my life, anytime I've drawn back from him and have not been where I need to be, that he is the one with his hand outstretched all the time, just ready for me to because he wants to be that friend that sticks closer than a brother, and he wants to be that friend. And I found him always right there, ready just to pick me right back up again. And I think that's the reason why I have to give him the glory for anything with the company, with any of it. He's just been good to me.
Have you always seen it that way?
I have since that time. That's really how I've seen it. And if I get too busy sometimes, then I will try to do it on my own, and I'll have to remember that. I have to remind myself, that this is what life's all about. really. There's nothing wrong with living, and we work hard. We put in a lot of hours sometimes, but I don't want that to take away from the fact that he's God and he's got to direct my life. And if he told me to sell it all today, I would need to do that. He's not told me to, but just being obedient to him is much more important to me than any dollar that I could have, and it's all his to start with. So if he could, he's teaching me if he puts it in my hands, let it go out of my hands. Not just about me, but about others, That's that might be a lot more than what you asked for. You got me started now.
No, but I understand what you're saying, and I'm with you on it. There's a song in the old hymnals. There's a peace that passeth all understanding down in my heart. What is the name of that song? You know it, Glenn? Peace that passeth.
It's just down in my heart.
What's the name of it?
I think it's just down in my heart.
Down in my heart.
To stay.
Yeah, I think that is.
Do you know the book number? You don't know the hymn though.
Peace that passeth all understanding. That's very good. It is a peace that passes all understanding. You can't explain it. You can't explain. You could tell somebody all you want about the peace that God gives, but until they accept that, you can't really feel it. You can't explain it to the fullest. But
the song I like in the Bible or in the hymnals is that song that says, "What a friend we have in Jesus."
Oh yeah.
If you got up every morning and read that song,
that's right.
It'd make the whole day different.
It would. Because Dee, that's exactly who he is. You're right. He is a friend that will walk with you. He'll talk with you if we'll let him be our guide. And if we could start a day out that way, it'd change the whole day. It really will.
And that song says, "Leave your burdens with him. He'll deal with it."
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And so many times we'll try to deal with our own burdens, and I've done it. We've all done it. But if we just turn it over to him, yep, it changes.
Are your brothers and sisters on the religious order?
I'm very thankful.
In their way?
They are living for the Lord as well. Yes, sir.
And everybody does it in their own way, don't they?
Yes, sir.
I mean, there's different flavors of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do see different denominations and so forth. And I think my main thing is just to really just try to live for the Lord and follow the Bible and I don't try to put a name. I think that's partly why even where I go we don't put we don't have like a denomination on the door, because our goal is really just try to live for the Lord. And I see so many good people that are trying to live for the Lord don't believe exactly like I do. Just they don't always believe exactly like I do.
Well, we can't all think the same. Some people like blue, some people like black.
Right.
So if we can't...
Yeah.
I built this building for this guy one time. At the end, he gave me a Bible that had his name at the front, on the front cover. I thought, how ridiculous can you be? Put his name
His name's on it, yeah.
I've got it in there. I won't tell you who it was, but I thought, boy, how bold is that? I couldn't do that. Saved my life. Could you put your name on it? I mean, I put my name on the bottom right where they put, but it said, it opened it up and had his...
Inside, yeah. Yeah.
Now, also, one of your, I don't want to say hobbies, but your real passion, even though you're doing this Best Buy, and that's remarkable. I don't know what it would take to operate 8 locations and remain without diarrhea. I really don't know, because it would work on me, because I have some OCD.
Yeah.
But you put about as much time in this Haiti orphanage.
Yes, sir.
Which is, if you don't think Best Buy Metals in 7 locations and 150 employees is enough, you've got this other thing going on.
Yes, sir. What if the roof that protected your home was formed with 50,000 pounds of strength per square inch? Not happening with asphalt shingles. Guaranteed with metal roofing from Best Buy Metals. Our permanent steel roofing is beautiful, competitively priced, and lasts a lifetime. We manufacture to assure the quality you deserve. Greater strength, stronger roof, Best Buy Metals. Visit our showroom or find us online at bestbuymetalroof.com.
Now, explain to me this other passion you've got besides this huge business you got.
Yeah, I tell you, you're right when you talk about, kind of really being where our heart's at. It's, in Haiti, a good number of years back, even before we even opened this business, I felt that there'd be a time that God would have us go to a foreign land.
What
I
made
didn't
you
really know
think
where.
that?
As a young boy, just seeing needs out there, it just got my heart. There was always needs, and if I could help in some way, I just want to be a part of it. And so,
Was there any mentor that did that also, or?
There is a pastor, Pastor Larry Hamilton, that has been a big mentor of mine, and he worked in Haiti for years and years, and so I had an opportunity to go with him a good number of times before we even got more involved, and he'd been going there for over 40 years himself, and had began a work in Haiti, in an orphanage in Haiti, and that's one of the things that's really gave me the opportunity when I was younger, and to get to go with them. And it kind of, after we went a few times, it changes your life. It really does. You go there to be a blessing to the people, but in the end result, always come back feeling so thankful for what we have here and being blessed by the people there. But yeah, he was very instrumental on being a big part of that. There was a time that I went back and forth with Bill Larry Hamilton for a period of time, and then there was a time when he felt that he would not be going as often, getting a little bit up in years and minister. And so at that point is when he decided to just kind of turn it on over. He needed someone else to kind of to work the area. And so his daughter, Julie Ditton, was a big part of that and was going at those times as well. And so at that point, he really just allowed us to help work in that field. His sister Julie Denton, their family, and my family. And so from there, it was an opportunity that in our heart was already in it, that we was able to continue to work. And then when the business there, it helps us have the opportunity to be a part of that. And we have such a good team here, they keep continuing to work while we're gone. So we would go. So at one point, we really needed a new facility for the children. So
did he start an orphanage?
He did, yes, sir.
So how does that work in Haiti? He just decided he's going to, how do you do that? Where do you start?
Back those many years ago, I know there's a good story to it, but back that many years ago when he first went, he had went just as a mission with another missionary there, and the Lord just led him to meet with a brother that was in Haiti, that with a Chauvel, and they began to work together close, hand in hand, and they both was able to do a ministry, even a church as well as the orphanage. And so from there is where it just kind of expired. It wasn't like he didn't really just set out to do that, but Lord just led it one step to another to where they was able to begin to do that.
When you took over, it was a full-blown orphanage?
There was a lot of children in that area. Since then, they did have, the orphanage was, yes sir, there was an orphanage established there. And
is it government regulated like it is here? Or is it just, you just set up shop and say, we'll take kids on?
They do have a lot of regulations now. And so since then, we moved to a whole new area afterwards that the Lord allowed us to purchase. About 7 years ago, he allowed us to purchase 15 acres in Haiti. and you do have to set up with IBSR Children's Services there in Haiti. So it's a whole new location, and you have to do it properly. Even here, we have to be a 501c3 set up properly in the U.S. and in Haiti for it to all be proper paperwork and all. So I was able to work through all that, and it was a long process that, as far as building the orphanage. First of all, you have to build the wall all the way around the property because it's required, even for the children.
I wonder why that is.
There's so much protest violence in Haiti, and really just for the protection of the children.
Not for kidnapping, just mostly for stray bullets or something, or?
At that time, it was mostly just so people can't just wander in and wander off the property and you know, keep the children from harm. But now there is more recent a whole lot of kidnapping and
If
violence.
I was there now, would I be seeing a McDonald's or a Burger King, or is it just third world?
Yes, or you wouldn't see any of that available. It's third world, and in the last few years, it's gotten really, really bad. Just so much to where most of the places are shutting down. Even like Port-au-Prince, which is the main capital of Haiti, is almost like a ghost town. The businesses, there's gangs that took over the whole country. Before the gangs took over, it was terrible.
Drug gangs, or what?
Some of that is there, and some of it is just a lot of it is drug gangs. But they will also kidnap Americans or Haitians for they just want a ransom, and so it's just a money thing. So if you don't give them what you want, they'll take you out. And
So if they caught you, is it like on those shows Locked Up Abroad or something like that, where they call in and tell your family they're going to kill you if they don't send them $5 million? And
that has happened a lot here lately. Yes, sir. And it was more in the last couple of years that's happened a lot.
doesn't that scare you to death?
It is something to be very prayerful about. Matter of fact, it's a real question, because for the last 12 to 14 years, we were going to Haiti every month and staying there for a week to 2 weeks. Sometimes when we was building on the orphanage, we'd stay there a month and a half or so forth. But in the last year, or last couple of years, we've had to back off and not go as often because it just wasn't a good time. We'd pray about it and try to feel out when it's the right time, because really it's all in his hands when we go. Because we was there a few weeks ago, and we actually flew into what's called in the Dominican Republic, which is the same island, but it's a different country. And we flew in there and drove for 7 hours to get to the border of Haiti, and then we drive another 45 minutes to our orphanage. And it just feels a lot better that way because we're not on the roads of Haiti near as much. Port-au-Prince is the most dangerous part of Haiti. That's where so to fly into Port-au-Prince right now is not a very good idea at all. So that eliminated that particular road.
So you like gas the car up, and you'd have to rent a car?
We've done it both ways. We have rented taxis, but we have our own vehicles there at the orphanage. So, and we have staff, the Haitian staff, and our director to help take care of the place. So our director quite often will come and meet us. He's able to cross the border and meet us in Dominican and bring us back across.
What are you to him? Are you the owner, or are you the head of the board of directors, or how does that work? I know it's a weird question. But
as far as we have been put in place to take care of the orphanage, so he'll follow the guidelines that we ask him to. So
who owns it?
Myself and Sister Julie is really as far as on the paperwork, as far as over it, and so here in the U.S. as well as there.
So you'd be like the owner of the nonprofit organization.
That's right. We put on it even on the website administrators, just because we really feel like it's God's work. We know it's God's work that's over it, and so but that is, as far as it's set up, we would be the ones to make the decisions.
So you've got a guy there that's running it?
He's a Haitian guy that we put good trust in, good Christian guy, and so we put him in place. But we actually have 15 staff there that's taking care of the.
You're gonna do to that what you did to the to the Best Buy. I can see it
Keep
coming.
growing. If he allows us to keep growing, we will. I tell you what, though, you know, it's really about this here is really about whatever, well, the other is too, but whatever God would want us to do. But I think the hardest thing right now is to know which children to take in, because every day, if we're there, there's children that desperately need a home.
Did somebody bring them, or they walk up, or how's that work?
Well, yeah, both ways. You know, sometimes somebody will bring them up, and it'll be either an aunt or uncle. The child may not have any parents, or they might have one parent that can't take care of them at all, just barely surviving themselves. And there's some that we'll see that's just on the streets. We took in 3 little ones that were at a place called the Poorhouse, and the poorhouse is right there in town. All it is just a concrete slab. It's not nice at all, and they're just living there, little children.
Where they come from?
A relative. They were staying with an aunt that couldn't take care of herself.
Just drop them off like you would a cat or dog?
Yeah.
Golly.
Sometimes they'll try to stay there with them, but they can't take care of them. So, and there's nobody there really taking care of them. It's just a slab of concrete, and
So
each little one has their own story, really.
So how big is this slab of concrete? Is it as big as my building here, or is it?
It's probably similar to this size. It's more like in Haiti, you'll see a lot of them more like shacks, more like pole barn structures. This one's a concrete structure, so it'll have a concrete, but then it'll have some walls and be divided. But like it might not even have any doors or windows, just like little rooms. But there's nothing in it.
Is there any
furniture.
bathrooms?
Just out back. When I was there last time, I just seen them going out back. No bathrooms, really, just wherever they can find
And
a
what are
place.
these kids, 6 or 8 or 15?
There's some of them was 3, some of them 4, 6, just all different all ages.
Golly.
Yeah.
And what's the government do about that? They don't care?
Yes. You know, in Haiti, there really is not at that time there was a government, but they're so corrupt. Any money that's sent there, it's being used wrong, and so the country itself, the people's not lazy, but there's no work to be had. So the people themselves can't even find work. So but yeah, the government don't take care of them.
How big is Haiti?
The population, I hate to tell you wrong, because I've looked at it several different times. I didn't go back and look at the population. And Port-au-Prince is where the majority of the population is so crowded, millions of people. But outside the area, you'll see little people living on the side of the mountains in little shacks, cardboard boxes. And I can't remember the exact population. I'll get that to you. I can't remember right now.
You mean like living in literally cardboard boxes?
Yes, sir. Under trees,
And so
side the road.
somebody gets pregnant, they have a kid, can't take care of it. They'll drop it off at what they think is the poorhouse, which is government controlled. And is there anybody from the government going over to feed them?
Nobody's going to feed them. No. Sometimes they'll just stay there for a few weeks, a few nights, and then end up living there just because it's a place. But there's nobody really going. Not unless a missionary comes by and gives them something here or there. We had opportunities to go by there and witness and give them something at times. Some plate meals a few times, and that's really where we come across some of these children. But many of them didn't come from there. A lot of them are just from people bringing them to us. There is
So this guy, Mr. Hamilton, started an orphanage to take these kids in.
Yes, sir.
And how big was his building before you got involved?
The building itself, it was on that property. There was a good sized church that was built over time, and then the building itself had several different rooms. It probably was around 3,000 square feet, but had different rooms in it, and that's part of why we did.
Did they have regular attendance at the church?
They did.
I mean,
yes,
like Sunday morning here in Cleveland, or
they would. They'd had services a couple times a week, and
they dress up?
They would, to the very best of their ability. Some of them walk for miles and miles to go to service. They'll carry their shoes because they don't want them to wear them out, and then they'll come on in. And
What religion do they think they're following? Or is it just worshiping God?
Really just worshiping God. This particular, where we're at even now, we have a church right outside the orphanage walls, and it has been based on the Bible and things that we've
But
been able to share with them.
not a label necessarily.
Not really a label, no, sir. Just try to live for the Lord and real sincere. Matter of fact, just recently, we'd start the orphanage there on the property, and we got all the buildings built and the orphanage and mission house and so forth. And during COVID, everybody was kind of locked down there too, and so they weren't able to
I guess,
get
yeah.
out and have service, get out and do this and do that. So our children had service right there in the lunchroom, just the children and our staff. And they were having services, but right outside the wall, people were hearing it. And they said, man, I want to be a part of the services. But we couldn't really just bring them all onto the property because you have the rules. You can't, you're taking care of the kids. You can't just let everybody come on the property. I wouldn't feel good about it. So we went there here right at 2 years ago now, was when we decided to have a service on the outside of the wall, and right outside the wall, which is part of the mission, part of our property there as well. And we just had a revival service. We invited the neighborhood, all over the neighborhood. We walked the hill and invited them, and we had a lot of them started coming, and we had over 500 coming to the services during that revival, and we had over 80 that gave their heart to the Lord. And they're just people that lived all over the hills. And so after that service, we realized we can't just let these people go back to the house, nowhere to worship God. And so we was able to put up a pole barn type building. And they're used to that in Haiti, actually, is like a pole barn church, more like an open harbor type building. So they've been having services on the outside of the wall ever since. And it's been growing. People have been giving their heart to the Lord. And so that gives them a place.
You have to feed them when they come, or do you give them anything, or is it just
The services there? On the one service in the morning, we do try to provide them something. It's not usually always just real big, but we have more recently, because for a while they was coming and they was hungry every morning. They was hungry.
It's almost like the 7 loaves of fish?
Right. Yeah. You felt like you need to help them a little something. So we can't.
Because it's not like they're coming from downtown Cleveland. Some of them are literally walking 3 hours, I guess, or 2, right?
Yeah. Sometimes they'll come from all over. Some of them are a couple hours.
Do you get a deed for the property?
We do, yes, sir.
So it's a real. Do they have courthouses there?
They do, yes, sir. Yeah. You have to get it surveyed off, and they do it a bit different. The whole structure's completely different, but it's all been done with a deed and so forth.
So they can't just come and take your property, really, I guess, or you just don't know.
They're not supposed to. I mean, it is titled over to us, and it's under the orphanage name. When the government, the way the government is and so corrupt, you always wonder exactly, because you've seen different things in the past in Haiti that don't quite go like people plan, so you just pray that God has his way in everything. So it is done all right, the right way right now, so they're not supposed to.
So you feel somewhat confident that they're not going to, that you can remain an orphanage.
Yes, sir.
You see these ads on TV of, kids that are starving and animals that need water and stuff, and you think, was this a scam?
Right.
It goes through your mind.
Yeah, you're true. It's
but
true.
knowing that you've got a location,
yes, sir.
a deed at least,
yes, sir.
Somebody could take my property here too. So we're not saying that. We're just saying you're really legit, as they say.
It is set up right. It really is. And you're exactly right. You always wonder a different, whether different organization, what have you. One thing we've always said that 100%, if anybody helps with any of the needs there, 100% goes towards the need that's requested. If they say, I want this to go to the orphanage, 100% goes to the orphanage.
Well, if he said, I want this to go to the orphanage, but I just want it to buy socks.
That's exactly what we'll do.
It goes to socks.
We've had some do Pacifics, even they say specifically, I want for their schooling, or specifically for clothes, specifically for food. If they say specifically, that's what it'll be 100%. Now, if they say, I just want it to be used in that ministry, that gives us some flexibility. But it will be. We won't take a dime for our travels. You know, we just don't feel to. This
What
is
about
for them.
the guy that's running it?
Now, the staff that's there.
And they got to be paid something,
We do
right?
pay the staff, and they are the Haitian. The ones that are there right now, living there, they're all Haitians, and we do pay the staff. And it's not really what you would think, but it's for them. They're able to stay alive, stay living, and give something to eat. So it's not like they're making good money or anything like that. It's just enough to. Matter of fact, a lot of them there even think of it as a ministry to their own people, and so.
So they're sincere too.
They are sincere, and they're working with the kids and with the church. But we do take care of them as far as we make sure they get it to that way they can survive too. So
They
those
don't live. They don't live on site.
there's a couple of them live on site because even then some of the nannies stay right there with the kids. But a lot of them have shifts where they'll come and go at different times. But there's a few of them that they live right there and take. Yeah.
Who sets up the shift schedule? Is that the guy that you say is running it?
It is, but he talks with our help. You know, we see the schedules and talk about it and figure out who's coming and going, and so.
What's his name?
T-Now, Breeze, yeah.
Breeze.
Ernzo's is really his name, but he had a nickname of T-Now, but Ernzo Breeze. Really good guy, young man.
About how old is he?
He's 42, I believe he is, 42.
Does he speak English or?
He does, yeah. He does really well English.
Has he ever
It helps
come
us
to
a lot.
America?
He's got the opportunity to come a few times, yeah, and that's really neat because most of them in Haiti don't get that opportunity. It's really, you know, because of being able to work with the orphanage for so long, and he's got the first time he got to come is there's a little girl there that got burnt severely bad, Monica.
I can't think of it.
Yeah, and it was before we got her, and she was left in the
God,
hospital.
I can't think of it.
And
I can't think of it.
he got to come help take care of her. Yeah.
My mind can't
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah, no worries. There's just a lot of needs, but these young people, but yeah, to go all the way back, circle back around to the kids. They'll
Yeah.
get
So
your
how
heart.
many? So how many's there?
Right now, there's right about 20 as far as the children go. And
So if you know, you hear of all these people all the time, we're trying to adopt, we're trying to adopt, we're trying to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
Is it harder in America to adopt, or could you just call Best Buy Metals? Is it that simple?
in Haiti,
I mean-
Haiti, they make it really difficult to adopt. Matter of fact, it's so hard, and a lot of it is because of their system down there at the IBSR, even where the Children's Services is. The process takes forever. Matter of fact, we adopted a son from there that moved over here. His name Patu. He come to our orphanage when he was 2, and now he's when he got older, 10 years old. The Lord worked it out. We was able to adopt him, but it took 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Now, what's their point?
I don't.
A child that has no family, nobody wants him. Why would it be hard to take him out of that? I just can't wrap my head around that.
You know, I can't either.
Now,
I really
if
can't
the
either.
family was contesting it, or I can see that,
Yeah.
yeah, fine.
Right.
But if nobody's
Yeah.
laying claim,
Right. Yeah, and that's the truth. A lot of the children we took in wouldn't even made it another month without the help. And
Yeah.
yet, I think that, I mean, there's a little bit of it that's good because they watch them. They want to make sure you're able to take care of them. They watch you, but there's some of it's way too far, and it's a money racket too for the government.
so you
because
think that's what it is somewhat?
a lot of it's a money racket. You have to keep doing this, keep doing that.
Do
this
any of those
paperwork,
kids
that
fall
paperwork.
into human trafficking?
That is something that happens at times. So there is a certain element of what they do that is necessary to make sure that's not happening.
Which is
But
good.
That part is. But there's another part where they already know the parents are genuinely caring for the kids, but yet I think it becomes a money racket. But it is a sad thing. So it is very, very hard to adopt out of Haiti. People do it. I'm not trying to discourage somebody if they feel to adopt from Haiti, because we've seen many do it, even people here that we know. But it's my wife put it this way: it was a harder is harder than child labor for her. The process of 3 years to adopt was harder than bearing our 3 girls because of the, I mean, you just think it's time to bring them home, and all of a sudden there's another paperwork that costs you another 6 months, another year. And
After a year,
Yeah.
and this wasn't, I'm assuming this wasn't somebody who just off a whim. This was somebody you had some deeper feelings or connection with.
Right.
And so that would make
Yeah.
3 years wait.
yeah, he's a neat little guy. Well, every time we went, he was right beside me, just working with me every time on the orphanage. He
What
would
was
help
his
me.
story? What was he left there from? Or can
He when he was 2, he had a family but lived way back in the mountains, and they couldn't take care of him. There's some families, there's some that don't have any family at all, but he did have some family. But he was so they couldn't take care of him. He wouldn't have survived, and so that's when they brought him to. This was back when Pastor Larry Hampton was over it when he first come. So it took. They brought him when he was 2, and that's where he is home ever since. So, but he is a really neat little young guy. He's now 20. And he just got married.
what was it? Did he end up going to school here?
When he come here, we finished this through high school.
What was it like when he first came here?
It was a lot different for him. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of challenges because the grades there are much different. The grades are not up to what our grades would be so far. So he had to really put his mind and set to it, and he did a couple times 2 years in one. But he adapted really well. He did. He was already used to us as a family, and so that helped a lot. He knew his sisters before because they've been to Haiti with me several times. So he knew Sister Julie, which goes to church where I go because he grew up in the orphanage with her there too. So he had a lot of support. And
Can they get on YouTube there?
And there is internet where they can get on at times when it's working well. Sometimes you all of a sudden don't get no internet for periods of time. Other times you have internet again.
I mean, they have smartphones there like we do here.
Some of them do now. More recent. For a while they
I
wasn't
wonder
gonna do that.
whose the service is from. Because you couldn't call that number and say I'm having trouble with my cell phone. It
Yeah,
had to be
it's another service there, Digicel and a couple
a
of them. there that-
knockoff or something.
Yeah, where they're paying for another line.
You'd think that government there would say, "Hey, y'all been doing this for 40-something years, and we haven't had any problem. If y'all recommend somebody be adopted, we're gonna
Yeah.
go with that."
That would really be nice. It really would.
Doesn't that
They-
makes too much sense?
I know, it really would. So right now, as it is, a lot of them, from the time they're little, they get a good home. They get fed, clothed. We make sure they go to school. They live for the Lord. They they go to church and
They go to
it's very
school in
important.
Haiti.
They do. There's a little school not too far from the orphanage that we send them to, so they get an education.
What's it like?
Their schools there is going to be a lot different. Naturally, a lot of them are still like open air type buildings. I mean, there's some closed classrooms too, but it's not. The grade system's a lot different than ours.
They
But
teach them division and
They
decimal
do.
points and all that stuff.
yeah, they still get the education. They put their mind to it. They can get a good education.
Are the teachers government workers?
There's both. There's some that's private schools, and there's some that's government workers in the school system. But private schools are have to pay quite a bit to get them in, so they're definitely all different.
Could y'all take in 30 kids tomorrow if you open the door?
We can definitely take in more children right now, and we have the ability, or we have room on the property to build a whole nother section of orphanage, and that is our goal. If Lord allows us to, when a couple of years now that the violence has gotten so bad that even places you buy materials are shut down, harder to get materials, harder to get in.
Golly, we're self-destructing, aren't we?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. So, but there's a whole section. We're planning on building another section of orphanage so we could take in about that many more children because the need is there. And to pray about, right now, we took in another one not too long ago, but so we have room to take in a few more for sure, and we will. But if we really took in all the ones that the needs are, we'd be maxed out in space because So I think that's the main thing, is to pray about what to do, because the needs are so great. We feel like we're doing nothing really compared to what the need is. But the way I got to look at it, and the way we have to look at it, is even though it might be nothing compared to the needs, every little child that we take in, it changes their life for good. And so we just keep working it, whether, as far as changing their life, gives them opportunity to live for the Lord, opportunity to grow. There's another aspect that we're thankful that we're working with, and it's called the nutrition program. So even though the orphanage can't take in all the children, every day on a regular basis we have a nutrition program where we have, they go to different villages throughout the area, and they'll find the children in that area that are really malnutrition. And you see them all the time, but you could tell which ones really need it desperately right away. Their hair, you could just watch them. Their hair starts turning red. Their skin and bones, but yet their stomach will swell out when they're
Why
with
the hair
malnutrition.
red, reckon?
Just from the lack of the right vitamins.
Iron or something?
Yeah. Some of the vitamins that's needed, probably iron. I'm not sure all the exact, but you'll see it. Their hair turn red. And what the nutrition program is it's a peanut butter based product, but it's got medicine in it. It'll pull them right out of malnutrition. So what's called plumpy nut. So what we do is we'll start them on a 6-week program, and they'll take 1 pack of that, eat one every day.
Like a protein bar, somebody right before they ride a bicycle or something?
It could be kind of like that. It's actually, but it is like liquid in a pack. Not liquid, but it's kind of like peanut butter in a package, but
Like
it's
a
got
gel?
medicine.
What's it got? What kind of medicine?
It's really whatever they're lacking in vitamins and so forth to pull them out.
How would you know what they're lacking? Or is it just a malnutrition?
It's really just malnutrition.
So it's like whatever the body can digest real easily or something?
Yeah.
Where do you get them?
There's a place there that another missionary group have started producing the peanuts right on the property in an area of Haiti. And then there's doctors that went in and figured out and come up with the right that will actually be beneficial to the children. And so we purchased those boxes, and every day right now, like we might have 100 children on this throughout the program. Then we'll start some more. It might be 25 here, 30 here, 50 here from different villages. Then we have people that go to these children. They don't just give them a whole box of it and say, take one a day, because it won't work out. They spread it out. Yeah. So they have to make sure each child actually eats that before they go on to the next. Yep.
So is it like is that all they get?
That's mainly what we're able to provide them. But now,
does it taste good?
It does. It tastes good. It's got a sweet taste to it.
Like
it's
a
not
sweet
bad.
peanut butter or something?
Yeah. Now, but the question you asked, if that's all they get, and that's the hard part, it's really going to be up to the parents. I say parents, it's up to whoever's around them to help keep them. In 6 weeks, you'll see that child have a turnaround, big time. I mean, just really. But then that helps them survive and get back on their feet. And sometimes we're able to help them further, and other times it's going to be up to whether that got them past the point where they can survive. And,
this sounds like, did you ever see the movie Slumdog Millionaire?
I do.
Is it similar to that? Because I'm getting that picture in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And the picture's not, I'm not even telling it like it is. You can't, until you're there and you see the children that barely hanging on by a thread, 2, 3-year-old, 1-year-old. And even this product, it'll pull them out of malnutrition, but lots of times they got other things like TB or worms that's just eating them from it, eating them up. And there's times we're able to help them with that as well. But it's something really felt like the Lord laid on her heart. And Sister Julie, if you ever get to meet her, she's laid on her heart this program, because it'll take that child from barely surviving to another level to where they have a chance in life. And it gives us opportunity to talk to their families too, and different ones about the Lord at the same time. So that's going on regularly all the time. And but there's some other ministries, even like there's a place called Jacmel, which is 5 hours away in Haiti. And we've been there a number. We have a school there and a church, and there's a little over 200 children in that school that we take care of.
So is this part of, you have the school?
It is, yes, sir. Yeah, it's It's not the same as the orphanage because it's not an orphanage there, but it is the same ministry, really, just what God has allowed us to work
Why
with.
not have an orphanage there?
It would be an opportunity to have one there. And it's another. It'd be like you said. It's whether it's time or when it's time or if it's time. You know,
But
if there's,
for right
there's
now,
needs.
it's just a school,
It's just a
like
school.
a private school.
It's a private school and a church.
Does it cost them to go there?
It does not. It does not. We actually shipped a building there from here. It's way back in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have a school in the area at all at the time. And you drive 5 hours, and then you part of that drive is like four-wheeling and drop off on both sides. And then you park the truck and you walk for about 3 hours back to and that's where people all over the village there. And there's and so the building we shipped was almost like a tubing. It was like a tubular type building, more like a carport style tubing. But it was a decent size, and we shipped it all there. And they carried it in like they'd take the same metal and roll it up in tubes and carry it on shoulder. They carried it all in, and then we were able to take a group with us and put it together. And that's where they have church, and some of the classes are in that building. And then there was another wood structure. They have the other classes, different age groups.
What's the name of that community?
Jock Mill.
Jock Mill.
Jock Mill.
So you could probably zoom in on Google Maps or something.
Yeah, you can zoom in. Yeah.
So what are those people? I bet they're just isolated, aren't they? There's probably people live there hadn't been out of that town in 5 years.
There's some that have not. Matter of fact, some of these hikes you go on, you find little children that never seen a white person in their life. And,
What reaction do you get?
some of them are a little scared of us. You could have fun with them sometimes because you
They
could,
don't call you a white cracker, do they?
Right. No.
They don't think bad, right?
No, but there's some people in Haiti who call us, well, you know, the blah is a Creole word
Blah.
for white. So you'll
Yeah.
hear it sometimes blah.
Blah,
You know, little
blah,
kids might
no.
holler it, but they don't necessarily mean anything negative by it. They're
Who
just
is
saying,
that singer? Blanca Brown? Yeah, Blanca's
know.
white, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So they'll sometimes say that word, but they're not meaning anything
Yeah,
bad about
no.
it. But yeah. So there's some of them that have never been out, and there's different towns that some parents might have went to, but the kids never made it out. So it's a pretty good ways in there, but it's like you're going way back in time. Really, they have donkeys carrying stuff around. Matter of fact, this Plumpy Nut program, lots of times we'll load the donkeys down with it and let them carry it back in the woods with
Do
the
you ever
donkeys.
see some organizations or some events they have even in town, not throwing off of them, but they'll have an event and to raise money for something that you would probably think is, man, that's silly. They need the money over here a whole lot worse than that. I mean, I can't even think of what it would be, but
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's
There's
sort of, you would have to sort of get little.
Yeah. I think the main thing is if I see one that I know that's not really going for a good cause, I might think about other causes that it really could help because, and I think that's one of the things what I meant by even early on when I said that the needs are so great somewhere else, we can't really put even a dent in it. But if we can help just a little bit, everything's God's anyway. So if we could help, if He puts something in our hands and we just let it go out our hand, you know, just don't hold tight to it because you can't take it to heaven with us. And so that's where I'm thankful, even though it's nothing compared to the needs. If we could just help a little bit, then it just makes all the
Do
difference.
they have phones there?
Some of them
Like
have.
landlines?
The landlines are far in between now.
I mean, like
remember-
at the orphanage.
At the orphanage, we don't. Because the landlines don't hardly ever work, but they do have a couple of them have cell phones. Actually, they're picking up. We put a satellite Starlink on the
Oh
roof.
yeah, well those are good, aren't they?
It is. It's
Thanks
something we
to
just
Elon
put up.
Musk, right?
Yeah. It picks up pretty decent. That's what we're running on right now. That's how we can check on, which we talk to them regularly, nearly every day. And if,
Do they have problems there like we have in our business, or is it they don't really have issues?
now you talking about like at the orphanage and so
Yeah.
forth, the
Like
staff and so forth?
like we'd have in business, like an employer or a customer, or parent mad or something like that, or is there problems?
They could
plug in?
have their own type. It might not be the same as ours, but there's definitely some that we might have hired that we'll have the little issues have to talk through and find out if they stay or if we need to get somebody to replace them and so forth. So we've had things like that. But several of them work there considered a ministry, and their heart is all for the kids, and they're just
That's the
what they're
ones you
making
want.
is what they're making, and they're just working, be thankful. And
Do you think the government is any way like, boy, I'm glad this orphanage, because if you didn't have orphanages like you do, how could they even manage? So they've got to, on some level, be glad you're there.
Yeah, they seem to be for the most part. They do have some regulations, and they check on us occasionally, and they'll send some there, and
Like
Yeah.
inspectors of some
some of them are
sort?
inspectors, make sure the kids are taken care of. We have to make sure we have everything in place as far as the right, like we have a doctor that's on staff that checks on the kids every week. He comes by there.
Does he have to be a licensed real medical doctor, or is Haiti that strict as far as you have to be a medical doctor, or can it be a guy that says he's a medical doctor?
I mean, for some needs, they'll let someone come in and just help with different things, but they do, as far as to have somebody that's actually physically checking on their well-being every week, they want them to be somebody that's...
They have to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we have a guy, a good guy. He seemed to really care, and he checks on them every week. He comes through, and sometimes it's just a matter of a visit just to make sure that they're healthy. Other times there might be someone that's sick. He has to actually evaluate what the situation is. So, and there's also cases where some of the children have different sicknesses and illnesses that we can't bring them in the orphanage right away. So we have to start them on a program to get rid of some stuff before they can.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
You have to have sheets for all the babies and all the kids and everything. I mean,
We do.
you have to wash the sheets, and you have a laundry room on site.
It's true. We have someone the full-time job is actually washing the clothes, washing the sheets, and taking care of the kids.
So
Yeah.
this is the, hey, Glenn, can you zoom in on this?
Yeah, that tells some about it right there for sure. The new orphanage, we was able to build custom bunk beds, and
You'd have to have a permit here, Cleveland.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah,
5 permits.
yeah. Yeah, it does take quite a bit to keep it going. They got some full-time cooking there, and
So all these kids still there right now? Or
yes,
is
sir, they are. They are.
Who's this guy here?
That's Davison. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you don't have. Oh, so this is the orphanage right here.
It is.
What is that?
It is. I tell you,
Zoom in on that, Gwen.
when we moved from the one orphanage to the other, we was renting an orphanage for a little while. We was renting a building for an orphanage for a little while, and that's what's on this one. But the very new facility is not on this particular brochure. I'll have to show you some pictures later on my phone. Got the new facility. It's turned out really well.
Now this one, which one is the director? Is he in here?
He is not there. This is all just the Americans. So this is me and my wife, and this is Sister
Okay.
Julie. And
Now her dad Hamilton, was he from Cleveland, or where was he from?
well, Tellico Plains, but he pastored here in Cleveland in Ooltewah for years, and then we moved to up there in Walker Valley.
Okay, so he's still alive.
He is. He's turning 70. No, he's turning 80. He's turning 80,
80 years old.
in November. Yeah, he's a great man. I've been a blessing in my life my entire life.
So she married a Denton.
She did. Yeah, her husband passed away in COVID actually, but
Did you have anybody that died from the orphanage that had COVID?
no, some of them did get COVID and get sick, but none of them passed away. They actually they did do a lot of what we did here. You know, schools were shut down and so forth and so on. Different ones got sick, but they were able to all pull out of it. Yeah, some of that in there shows the nutrition program and different things, different ways that people's helped. And we've got a lot more different literature that would give more information on that.
Which is more important, to sponsor a child or to do the nutrition program? Of course, how could you sponsor a child? How could you ever stop that if you wanted to? You couldn't do it mentally, could you?
Well,
it'd be easier to say, send us $500.
people done it all different ways. That's a very good point. You know, some would like to know that it's specifically going, they could to a certain child for every month, but some will just do, hey, I just want to put this amount towards it or this amount towards the nutrition program.
Yeah, because
it's all used in
Because what if you're 5 years old and you're sitting next to a guy that has a prettier face than you do, and he's getting $80 a month and you're getting $20?
Yeah. You know what, we always just make sure that we take up the slack on wherever, like the child, if we bring them in the orphanage, we're going to make sure they're taken care of, but anyone that decides to help is a huge benefit because then we're able to help more children. But we're not going to let this child go hungry if he didn't have as much of a sponsor because we'll just take up the slack, you know, because of whatever it takes to make sure. But the more that is a help, the more we can help. That's just kind of the way it is. But we're not going to. And if somebody decides they can no longer help, you know, don't feel that income's coming in to do that sponsorship, there's no obligation if somebody backs, you know, decides I need to stop. You know, it's happened. It's happened at times.
Are you strictly on donations?
As far as it's donations, and again, whatever that different ones here, and our church is a part will help at times, and our business will help whatever it takes to keep it going. Will help.
You could in theory run out of money.
Yeah. It's just God's always made a way, and we've been so thankful for that.
But I mean, in theory,
right? Yeah.
You could just run out of money.
Oh yeah.
We need a new roof, or the electric bill went up, or
yeah. And it is a balance of knowing when to stop and when not, because even while you're there, there's all kinds of other needs that we could help people with, and we do. At times, we might take care of this widow's, give food. Sometimes we'll take a whole group and provide food for some widows and different ones. But that's on the side of the orphanage. If we feel we have the budget and we're able to, we'll do that often in different needs. And then other times you have to say, wait a minute, I just need to stop for a minute unless God deals with me because you'll take on too much at one time. So it's a balance. It's a tough balance.
You can't give the farm away.
Right. Because then you might not be able to help with the need over here. And you know the kids were committed. We're committed to take care of them. And we're committed to whatever God wants us to do, really. So he'll provide. And that's what I'm thankful because he always has. But when the provision's there, we could do even more. You know, whatever provision he allows us, we'll just keep going that route.
It's almost like so we really have no places in America that are like this.
I hadn't seen it to this extent. I know that there's people here that have needs too, and we've got to be mindful of that, and we'll help different ones here. But it's a whole new level. If you go here and you walk, you don't have to walk far at all. You see, and I'm not even painting the picture like it really is. If you walk down this trail, you'll see people living just in mud huts, cardboard boxes. Some of them hadn't had a meal for who knows how long, and some of them they'll even make mud pies sometimes for their kids to eat to keep their stomach from feeling hungry, but it don't give them no nutrition.
And when you say a mud pie, you mean literally a mud pie.
They do. Yeah, they do. You'll see it. They'll make these little mud cookies, and it just makes them stomach feel a little full. But it don't take care of me either.
Does it go through the system? I guess mud.
Somehow it does. I know it can't be good.
Kids used to eat dirt.
Right. Yeah.
Probably got vitamin B in it.
They might get something out of it. Yeah, I'm not real sure. But I know
wonder how they came up with that idea. You're pretty desperate if you do that.
Yeah.
I'd get out and start shooting people.
Yeah.
Whatever it took.
And I think that's what's happened. you know.
I guess that's it.
But
We just unlocked the reason.
yeah, but now you see more of these big groups are doing it that's not really family related. It's just like groups of just people just don't care, just heartless, you know, and they just run in the country. The government's been ran out. There is no government now. The president got shot a couple of years ago, and since then there's been no government. And that's how bad it's gotten the last couple of years to where it's just going, God's the only one that's going, you know, it's just, the country's going really bad right now. I'm thankful that the children are that they're doing good. You know, we was there a couple of weeks ago and they're doing good. And, but the country in general is in bad shape. It gives us a lot to be thankful for. I mean,
Yeah, even as bad as it is here, I guess if it went over there, of course, that doesn't mean we can still have to take a whole lot of garbage here just because it's better there, but it is better than there.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the biggest thing you need is for regular donations that you can depend on? Is that
If somebody
more
felt
important?
if somebody felt to, that it would 100% go towards the orphanage and to whatever need they ask for it to. And we're not, yeah, we've brought things over there before, but most of the time it's harder to bring stuff. Like we'll usually purchase the clothes in Dominican and bring them over. And other needs, it's harder to bring items there because of trying to get it there. So but we have done some of that. But most of the time, if somebody feels to give something, and there's different ways to do it on the, through PayPal or the website. But if somebody feels to, 100% will go that direction for sure.
What kind of money do they have?
They have their own dollars there, but they're called goods, and the goods are worth very, very little. You take a whole wheelbarrow load and it's not will get you anything. So you take what they call one good. It takes 5 goods. 5 goods will make a Haitian dollar. Well, it takes 27 of those to make one of our dollars. That's how bad their money's went way downhill. So it take a whole
what
wheelbarrow
do they do?
load.
Just barter and lie, cheat, and steal to survive?
There's a lot of that going on. A lot of them trying to do whatever they can. You'll see some burning charcoal for the cook stoves, and they'll sell the charcoal. They're burning wood down, smoldering it, and they'll try whatever they can, but there's very little work.
I guess there's no work. Is there any real rich communities?
There's certain areas that will have some that you could tell they've got something, and it's either used to come from the government workers or now it's probably the gangs, but there's certain areas.
What are the gangs? Where are they getting their money? Probably they don't need money. It's just they got power.
Yeah, and they are the kidnappings, they're ransom. People are still giving them money so they don't get shot and so forth. Because
somebody will probably take over Haiti, some government.
Yeah.
But you couldn't.
It kind of needs that right now. It needs somebody to take over, but there's nothing there for another country to want. Yeah, that's
except
why
the Dominican Republic, and they don't want it. They just don't want anybody else to have it, probably.
Yeah, Dominican's doing fairly well. That's what's so crazy, right across the line. And they're really a different country. Same island, but different country.
I had a friend of mine that bought a piece of property there. Disney World was going to buy it or some kind of thing he thought. And I don't think he's ever got his money back.
Really? Just didn't come out good in it?
Yeah. But, boy, this whole world, the whole world could use a real honest, trustworthy, smart dictator, and that would solve everything, but there isn't such a person.
Right, yeah. It's true.
You make me want to donate to the Arms of Hope. Somebody needs to do that. You can't send them money in a check because it would be, you'd be better off sending them, a bag of oatmeal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, if you send it through the government, you just don't know where it's going. But
does they have regular mail there? Do they have a mailbox there? They open the mail every day?
They don't have a mailbox. They have places they can go, but it's very, very difficult right now. You could send some mail and it'll go through, and they have to go to Port-au-Prince and find the place to get it. But it's not even.
So how do you
donate?
How do you get stuff to them?
Now there's, as far as ourselves, when we're not traveling, there. Well, most of the time we'll bring it with us, but there's right across the Dominican line is where we have to send it to a bank right now that our director can go get it, and they're able to buy the food.
Where's he buy the food? In Haiti?
A lot of it right now is across the Dominican line because so many of the places in Haiti are shut down. You can't hardly, if it wasn't for him being able to go across the Dominican line, our kids would be in bad shape because that's where he gets most of the food right now.
So he has to go across there, get the money, get the food, and
That's
wagon train back?
Yeah.
What kind of cars does he drive?
We bought him a Toyota, and so he
You didn't buy him a new
No.
Tesla truck?
no, and it's
Because that
he
would have
wears-
blown your whole cover.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, you buy a car there, and it's going to look really old really quick because the roads are all the way they are. So yeah, it's not a new vehicle or anything, but he's able to get by and get what he needs. And sometimes it break down on him, we'll get it fixed and go again. But he usually goes across that way and gets the food.
He's
So,
got a big job,
he really does. He
I
does.
mean, just think about it.
He got a lot of responsibility, and he puts some pressure on him.
Think about his day tomorrow compared to ours.
Yeah.
I thought I was dreading
Yeah.
tomorrow, but I'm not dreading it
Yeah.
anymore.
You speak about tomorrow. When you say tomorrow, that's exactly he's having to go tomorrow to a border that's much further than that border because the border that he's been going across is locked down right now. They shut that border because there's too many protests and violence. So he's having
What violence are they protesting?
a lot of times it's the gangs starting up the problem, just kidnapping and causing problems. They'll shoot a couple people right there on the border and then they'll shut the border down. And
So he's got to go to another border?
another border. It's about 5 hours away to get across to the bank to get the mail we just sent and then get food and then come back. But he's also picking up that peanut butter, that medicine peanut butter at the same time. So it's not really a safe trip for him either. We just know that God's got to watch out for him and he does what it takes to take care of the kids. So yeah, he needs a lot of prayer. It's not an easy task.
For his car to not be hijacked, what are the odds that somebody will rob him in the car tomorrow? Is it 50-50?
Well, a lot of them won't make that route because they're worried just about that thing. But I really know that God's had his hand on them, and that's what makes the
Did
percentages
he carry
different.
a gun, or it wouldn't do any good
Yeah.
against machine guns? Or,
It really wouldn't because the whole gangs are so. There's hundreds of them. So, but really, I know he relies on God's protection too, and that's really what it is all about. Even when we go, we have to rely on that, and we've not been going as often, been prayerful about when to go, but we have to rely on just God. If God gives us a peace
It'd
about
probably
going.
be better off to send the money that it would cost to go there to him to use, because it sounds like he's handling it.
He does well.
So
does well.
why even go? Just let him handle it and send him the money that.
It's had to happen a lot that way this year. We've been a few times this year, but not as often as we used to. So, but there is a time they do need some extra support there just to show because he needs some support just knowing that and the kids do. The kids they're just like our kids and they know that. When we get there, if we don't go for a while, they're like, why? They don't know why we ain't. So we get to spend a lot of time with the kids while we're there too.
That's factored in too.
Yeah. But you're right. There's times we just have to send it, and it's been the most difficult thing to send it when you leave those kids, come back here, you feel like you're leaving your kids, because you get attached to each little life. But we're thankful. He's been kind to us. He's been good to us, and again, really can't take any credit. He's allowed us to just do a little tiny bit, and
If somebody donates, who they mail it to?
you got a couple options. Our corporate office is on here, 1652B South Lee Highway.
Oh yeah.
That's where a lot
Well,
of
it's going to it's going to a legitimate place. At least
Yes,
it's going right.
yes, sir. But you could also get on the website and do it through PayPal. It's armsofhopechildren.org, and there's a PayPal account. If somebody does it that way, it'll go straight to ours, and I'll see it there, and it'll 100% go to the orphanage.
We can put it on the screen, can't we, Gwen? He's already on it. Well, I tell you what, this is great work you're doing. It really is.
We're thankful to be able to go, and again, a lot of the team, even back here in Cleveland's allowed us to be able to go just because they're a big part of that, and he's been good to us.
Well, I tell you what, I'd hate to go against you on anything.
I don't know, Dee. I appreciate you talking with me so much. It's been a